Hi, my friend. Our Sweet Dreams today pulls up to the bar. I'm Pat Sloan, and for our Sweet Dreams block, number 13, lucky 13, we are talking about bar desserts, things that you cook sort of like you would a brownie, but they aren't a brownie. So they'd be like lemon bars, peanut butter bars, other kinds of chocolate bars. Anything that's like a sheet of dense dessert, like a cake but dense. Think brownie but other different flavors. Of course, there's blondies, which is like a vanilla version of, or a yellow cake version of a brownie. But I'm thinking like lemon bars and all those other kind of like a cheesecake bar. Yes, yeah. Okay, so what's our block look like? We're going for a basket to add to our Sweet Dreams quilt. Let me show you my two. So I have, ta-da! There we go. And I'm using the beautiful Moonstone fabric, and I am in love with this gray version. Look how soft and gorgeous. It looks quite elegant. I think this one would be super for your bonus pattern, which is a table runner. So just taking 4 of these with a little spacer between them, you could do a table runner. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, and the other one has fussy cutting for the basket, which I'm going to show you. So I'm going to take the darker one here and just give you a few tips on putting it together. Let's walk through the fabrics and then making one of the blocks. I'll just give you my little tips as I do it so that you can see how to get that big triangle added to the one section, because it's a little different. It's not just regular squares and regular half square triangles for this one, but it's not hard. So let's go. I first want to show you the fabric. So I have, here's the gray background one made. And one little thing I want to show you here is that I first tried using just more solid for the feet. Here we go, for the feet of the basket. And I thought, oh, you know, it just kind of loses it keeps it, you can see it, but I thought, well, I'd really kind of like to have the same pattern repeated down here. So I switched them out. So that's how that works. You can always switch something. All right, here is the basis for the block before they're sewn. So everything is individual pieces. This is still a great big piece, and I'm going to recut so you can see, and then I'll sew just different sections and then come back and show you how to get these together. But first of all, cut it all out and lay it, because otherwise you can get things rotated and it's, you know, not so fun if you've got them flipped out of place. So first of all, you've got you know, some half square triangles that are cut in half. So they started like this, and you cut them in half, and they will be the units that come on the end here. You will end up with one extra. So since you're making 2 blocks, you could sew those 2 together for a half square triangle that you keep in your stash for another time, or put into your scrap bag. Okay, so let's talk about this square here. I'm going with the stripe, and I'll also show you the other fabric that we use for the floral. So first let's look at the floral, because the floral is nice and big. There is lots of, you know, ways to go ahead and get a pretty flower, and you can see on mine there was this great big open flower in my piece of fabric. Now the other ones were like a closed flower, and that would have been really pretty. So you're doing an 8-inch square, which means you really do need, you know, I think if you do not have a 12-inch square ruler, it's time to get one. So what I want to do here for the flower is, I know where the 8 is. See, it's 8 to 8 right here. And see the diagonal on your ruler? Use that to show where the bottom of this block is. Here, let me just keep it on the board. To show where the bottom of the block is. So this diagonal should be what you're seeing, because one half of it then will, whoops, sorry. So one half of it will be your basket. So you want that diagonal to be on your fabric as you're imagining it here. So if I were to cut this one, I have this whole flower on the side. There you go. So you can see from 8 to 8, and the diagonal, that means in this triangle I will get that nice flower for the bottom of the basket. Now this fabric is a little bit different because it's a stripe, and I wanted to have it on point, basically, you know, on the diagonal. So let me show you that fabric, and because I've already cut the one piece out of it, you will see that. So here is this fabric. Open it up, and this piece came out of here. So you can see that's where it was. See, it was in there, right? And I removed it. I cut it out. So the stripe is going this way, but I can't, if I'm going to have the stripe this way, like it is on the fabric, if I was going to do the square, let me just mock it up. So if I were going to do a square and then do it in half, the diagonal wouldn't be as pretty. So here would be this square in half versus on the diagonal in half. Do you see the difference? So if I do it just straight cutting on grain, your diagonal is sideways. And I didn't want that. I want it really pretty like this, which means I need to cut the square so that I get that effect. So let's leave this guy so you can see him right there. And now I need to find that same thing. Now you'll note, look at this fabric. There are some, let me get a little closer. There are some parts that are more pretty. These have like pods, which is nice, and these have the flowers. So on this one, when I made the sample, I wanted to have the flowers. See, I wanted to have the flowers. Like if I went on this side, most of the flowers were not there. The primary was the seed pods. So if that was your thing, you could do the seed pods. But I want to get the flowers. So that means I have to do the same thing on this one. I need to put my ruler on point. So I'm going to back it up a bit because 8 inches is pretty big. Be sure I'm on the mat. So I am looking to put on point so that my 8 inches, I've got this going along the line. All right, so my line is here, and here is this really pretty the floral. So I want it as close to this line as possible because I'm going to do the 8 inch. And I want to be frugal, so I'm going to pull it over to get, okay, so here's 8. 8 is right here. Let me see if I can get out of that shadow. All right, there we go. So here's the 8, here's 8, here's the corner, and here's 8 over here. Well, that's not going to work, is it? But it could, because I only need half of this. I don't need this other half. I just need this half where the pretty fabric is. So I'm going to do it. If there were more fabric here, of course, you would include it in so you would have a full square. But I don't really need the full square. The other side is not going to be used. It'll just go into my scraps this time. So I am going to line up my 8 along the pretty part so it is at the widest side, which is along there. All right, then I will cut over here to the 8 and here. So the important part is the 8 over here at this end where I'm getting the full part of the design. And now I will rotate my ruler and cut across to the top. Okay, so now I have this unit and I need to do 8 again. So I have 8 and 8 and cut across. So here is my square minus a little chunk, which I don't mind because I'm not using that half. Now I want to cut it a diagonal. So I put the ruler on the diagonal and I cut. This part will be in my scrap bag, or I could get some 2.5 inch squares out of it, or maybe something for another block. And then here is the triangle that I need for the basket. So there we go. Okay, so I am going to go and sew these rows together so I can get this part of the basket all sewn up, and then I'll show you how to attach this half and this half together, which is really the only other interesting part about the block. Let me show you how to line up these half squares that you cut. You took the square and you cut it in half. There's 3 of them, 1, 2, 3, and you line them up exactly the same. They're so easy, they're not scary, there's nothing weird. So here's how it is. It's got the long side to the dark part of the half square triangle. You just lay it on top, line up the top, and this tail hangs out. So you leave that tail hanging out there, then you just sew your seam. And when you do that, You know, you're going to do the same thing for all of them. It is very easy. There we go. I'll just go through there. And, oops, show you. Okay. It's got the other one attached there. Ignore that. So when you fold it open, this is what it looks like. And you'll do that for all 3 of those rows that have one of these. All 3 rows are sewn. 1, 2, 3. You know, they have these 3 have the triangle on the outside. I position the shorter one on the top, line up those seams, and then sew them. So this is what the unit will look like when you sew it together. I keep the shorter one on the top. That's just how I like to do it. Now this whole part is done, so we can work on getting the second half to it. The only part that really we need to do is get this triangle sewn onto here. And we don't want to sew it on what I call the blind side, because you can't see any of the points underneath. We want to be sewing from this side, and in that case I want to do a little trim before we do this. So first I will go ahead and take my ruler and put the 1/4 inch line right on each of these intersections, so that I can just trim away a little bit of that excess, because remember those cut squares that created those triangles were a little bit oversized. So I have got my 1/4 inch on the ruler so that it is right along each intersection. So it gets right through that intersection. And I'll just trim off that little bit there, which we don't need. So we want to do it right sides together. I would just sort of flip it over just to get it going, and then do this. So we're really working from this side. You want to center it, and because it is a bit oversized, I can just kind of eyeball that a little bit. You know, you've got about the same amount of tail sticking out both, but you can instead do it perfectly by putting a crease here, and then on this guy putting a crease and matching those creases up. So when I match those creases up, then I'm going to sew the 1/4 inch right across here, which will give us this part of the block. And the last thing you do is take an 8.5 inch marking on here, and then just trim off the excess of this guy. So there we go. And now you're ready to take this part of the basket block, put it in here, and sew the rest up. Oh, if you decide that the basket maybe just isn't for you, or that isn't what you want to do, at my website today, I will link you over to some other 10-inch blocks of mine from previous sew alongs, so you could pick a different one to do. So these are going to look marvelous up here. You know, our layout has blocks all the way around it. We're doing 2 per week right now to finish up, and you have the layout since the day we started, so you can see what it looks like. If you've never downloaded the layout, it is with your supply list, so you have it. Okay, I have a quick little mail call. Brenda, who is one of our moderators, she sent me, look at this sweet card. And she sent some really cute fabric I had to show you because it's quilting fabric. Look at this. Look at this. Isn't that fun? Ah, thank you, Brenda. She was also sending me something for my gardening, so she put this in there too. Ah, so nice. Remember to say hi to our moderators over in the Facebook group, Quilt Along with Pat Sloan. And also a reminder that you need to come actually to the group every day to see what's new. Because if you just go to Facebook and look in your feed, you're not going to see anything that's happening, and you're going to miss all the fun. So you need to click into the group, and then you can scroll. You can either sort by most recent, or you can just see what has the most activity. But I suggest sorting by most recent, because otherwise you're going to get older posts, because that's what people might still be talking about them, you know, or commenting in them. But be sure you come every day to the group and not just rely on your feed. because you miss so much. Okay, Quilts for Ukraine. Remember, I have on our April list that on Mondays we will be doing Quilts for Ukraine. We'll be sewing together and making things and talking about what's going on out there for quilts. I want to show you 2 quilts that were done with my pattern so far. One from Laura. Let's take a look. Here's Laura's, just beautiful, and Lisa's. Now you don't have to do blue and yellow like mine. You can do any colors you like, but I think a lot of us want to show our solidarity with Ukraine and do the blue and yellow. I know I am. I'm going to do mine with the same blue fabric and then lots of scrappy yellows. So I'll be talking about that on Monday and going through what we'll be doing. And today is Wednesday, which means it's also the day I'm on the Quilt Alliance. So that is so fun. I'm excited about it. You can watch the premiere, but if you can't make the premiere and interact in the Q&A part of it, you can watch it at their YouTube channel later. It may not be on there today. I'll let you know in tomorrow's video if it's up yet over on their YouTube channel. Okay. And before I finish, I have to show you I got 2 goodies I ordered because remember we were talking about red scissors. Well, I spotted these. Ah, they're so precious, and they're teeny tiny. I had to have them. I just had to have them. Here, I'm pulling them out through the back. Look, 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 look. Ah, they're so precious. And then I also got this tin, which, look at the strawberry there. Look, this is the same strawberries. This is done by Kimberly Knight. This is her artwork. And look at the strawberries on the ends. So it's just a little tin that you can keep goodies in, keep projects in. I just had to have it. It's so cute. I think there's a few more. I'll link you at my website and here down below. All right, today you are going to make some bar cookies. And if you have a favorite one, tell us what it is. Like if you have a wonderful lemon bar or a cheesecake bar or peanut butter bar, just tell us about it. Give us the recipe. You get bonus points for that. Here we go. Both of mine. So thank you so much for being here. I love you. Thank you for coming to the Sloan Zone. I'll see you online. Mwah, mwah.